And today's session, we're going to talk about what it means to be pre-vet, pre-med, pre-pharmacy, any of those pre-categories that are in the healthcare professions. My name is Deanna Alba. I'm an assistant dean in the College of Letters and Science, which is where all of these pre-programs are held. With me today is Rachel Stern. She's one of our admissions counselors for these pre-programs. And then Lori Fitzenberger, who is one of our advisors and who may very well be your academic advisor, depending on which pre-program you join. But she's also very familiar with the other ones like pre-pharmacy. So we will be covering all of these today, not just the three that are listed there for Lori. So a couple housekeeping items before we start. If you are new to Teams, we are a smaller group today, so don't hesitate to just unmute yourself at any point and just ask your question, or there is a little button at the top. It might be hidden behind the three dots, but there should be something on there where you can raise your hand. And if you do that, we will see you and call on you to ask your question at that time. So don't feel like you have to wait till the end to ask your question. With that, we'll get started. I think Lori and I will probably alternate, so I'll let her kick off with the first substantive slide.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. So with the first slide, you guys have all shown an interest in one of our pre-professional programs, and that's great. Our pre-programs, there's a lot of them in letters and science, like pre-med, pre-vet, pre-dentistry, pre-pharmacy. That is telling us, faculty and staff at UWM, that you want to go on for further schooling to become a doctor or a pharmacist or a dentist. So that really helps us identify who you are. So when working with you, we can not only, like my job, not only make sure you stay on track for your degree, but also help prepare you for the next phase of your life in preparing you for professional or graduate school. Because there's a lot that you need to do at the undergraduate level. It's not only just about taking classes and the right classes, but we are here, faculty and staff, to work with students and provide you with opportunities and let you know about opportunities around UWM and what's going on at UWM. We are a research institution, so there's a lot of research opportunities, but I help students, not only find research opportunities, but talk about independent studies, internships, part-time jobs. And we have a lot of student organizations, student clubs that we really encourage students to be involved in. It's a great way to get to know other students here on campus who are interested in the same thing as you. So we're here to help provide you and give you some guidelines and some assistance in what can help you get the most out of your education at UWM.
Great. Next slide. So one of the things that is important to note with UWM that might be a little different from other schools you're thinking about, we do not have a major called, for example, pre-med or pre-pharmacy. You will still need to pick a major. And why that's important is all of those graduate programs are quite competitive to get into. So when you have a major, you will be able to explore one subject area a little bit more in depth than you might if you were just kind of dabbling in a lot of different science areas. So whether you pick biology or biochemistry or chemistry or psychology or something else, this will help you keep all of your options open after college. Some people change their mind as they go along. Maybe you start out thinking you want to be pre-med, but then you get to junior or senior year and realize you want to do something else in the sciences, and if you have a biology major, for example, now you have other options open to you. Or it can also serve as a plan B if you don't get into medical school or vet school. Now you have something that you've studied a little bit more in depth that can help you explore other options outside of the healthcare profession that you might have thought you wanted to go into. Another benefit of having a major is that you will take more classes in one area. You will get to know the faculty in those areas, in that area, and you will have people you can rely on for those critical letters of recommendation to apply to those graduate programs. That is an essential part of the application process. And if you haven't had the time or the opportunity to get to know some of those faculty, you're going to have a hard time getting the type of recommendation letter that you're going to need. So those are all some of the reasons at UWM we do not have a major just called pre-med that lets you kind of dabble in a lot of sciences. I don't know, Lori, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you covered everything.
Okay.
Okay, so now that you've heard that we don't have a specific major in like pre-med or pre-dentistry, like the million-dollar question is, what should you major in and when do you have to pick? The good thing about these professional schools and graduate programs is really you can major in anything you want, but just be aware of a few things, okay? All of the professional schools that are health related, like med, vet, dental, pharmacy, physician assistant, they all have required courses that applicants need to satisfy and complete in order to get accepted. And on this slide, you can see most common, the students who are going for one of these pre-health areas typically will major in biology, biochemistry, chemistry, or psychology, and soon to be our neuroscience major. The reason is because the courses that are required to get into these professional schools are coming from these areas. And so you're taking these biology courses, chemistry courses, math courses, psychology courses. So something to think about is, do you want to take a major, or do you want to pick a major that overlaps with the courses that are required to get into these professional schools, or do you want to do something completely different? Which that is completely fine, because we always encourage students to have a plan B, just in case if you decide you don't want to go to that professional school anymore. Like Deanna had said earlier, you may decide you want to go to a different graduate program or get involved in research or find a job. So you want to pick a major that you're really happy with. But the majority of applicants who do get accepted to a lot of these healthcare programs are majoring in a science, because the courses that are required to get in are coming from these majors. So there's a lot of overlap. Okay. And it's typically fine not to know your major or declare it until like end of sophomore year. So that's the good thing, is that you have time to decide. You have time to take some of these early classes to see what you're most interested in and what you're good at and what your strengths are, and to kind of learn about different options at UWM.
And one thing, our Dean of the College of Letters and Science is actually a chemist. And one thing he likes to tell students, just to take a little bit of that pressure off, you know, especially if you're debating between biology and chemistry, you'll know most people, once you start getting into those classes, and you will have to take some biology and some chemistry, and you'll know which one you like better. People pretty clearly fall into a camp once they start taking those classes, and either really like biology or really like chemistry more than the other. So that's something that will come with time. So the other question we get asked a lot too is, well, why can't I just major in nursing and that'll be my backup plan? If I don't get into medical school, I will just go be a nurse. That is a program that is very clinical focused. So in that program, you are going to learn the tasks and techniques of how to be a nurse. You are not necessarily learning the foundational science that a doctor needs. So, you know, think about the difference in the profession. A doctor is the one who diagnoses patients and figures out the problem. The nurse carries out the instructions of a doctor. Both very important roles as part of the medical team, but very different roles. So nursing, you can major in nursing, but you would still need to do all of the pre-requirements, whether it's for medical school or dentistry school or pharmacy or something like that. So it would almost certainly be a little bit longer of a program because of all the clinical training required for the nursing program. And sometimes can indicate to a graduate program that, you're not quite as serious about pre-med or pre-physician assistant. You're sort of wavering between two different careers that are very different career paths. So just something to think about, and definitely something to talk to your advisor about if that's something you're considering. Very similar, biomedical sciences is similar as well. It is a clinical program, so not a foundational science program necessarily.
Okay, so you've heard us talk about like the required courses and what you need to take. The nice thing about all these programs is you're pretty much taking the same courses. So it does give you time to kind of explore the different health areas to see what's the best fit for you and truly where your passion lies. But typically, to get admitted to these schools, you need at least a year of foundation of biology with the labs. So we have a 2-semester introductory sequence. You need a year of general chemistry with the labs. You need a year of organic chemistry, a semester of biochemistry. For most programs, you do need 2 semesters of physics. Sometimes you can only need 1 semester, but a lot of times it will also depend on your major and what you need for your major. But typically, most programs require 2 semesters. Math, the professional schools, a lot of them, some will require calculus, but a lot do require statistics. That is something really kind of, every program's a little different. And also that kind of leads into like our majors. Some of our majors, our science majors, require more calculus than others. So a lot of times when students are kind of exploring some of the sciences, it's really like, my first question is, how much calculus do you want to do? And that can really decide what major you want to do. But yes, statistics is typically required to get into any professional school. And I encourage definitely additional upper level biology. And by being like a biology major or a biochemistry major, you're going to get those extra courses. I think sometimes when students start researching different professional schools, they'll see the minimum of what's required. But most professional schools want additional upper level biology. So if you do end up majoring in something completely different, it would be very doable to add in a biology minor. By having that, it would just beef up your application for these professional schools.
So those were the requirements for the pre-portion of your plan. In addition to that, depending on what you pick for your major, you would then layer on top of that those requirements for the major. Most of our science majors, such as biology or chemistry, require between 34 and 54-ish credits. So that kind of gives you an idea of about how many, it's like 12 to 15 classes in the major you would be taking. And then on top of that, all students must meet some general requirements before they graduate. It takes 120 total credits to graduate. So you can see with the pre-med, pre-vet required courses, the major courses, and these general requirements, that's really what's going to take you to the 120. Some students may choose to add a minor or a double major. That would be in addition then if you wanted to do that. So our general requirements, all students would take 1 course in the fine arts. That's going to be something like theater, dance, music, creative writing counts as that. So you have a number of options in all of these categories. All of our students take 12 credits in the social sciences. Those are going to be things like psychology, history, sociology. Highly recommended that all students take Psychology 101 as part of a healthcare profession preparation. So that could count towards that 12 credits right there. Then all of our students take 12 credits in the humanities. That's going to be things like literature, communication, philosophy. There's a great philosophy course in medical ethics that counts towards this requirement. So again, lots of options for you to pick from and lots of things that are very relevant to a future healthcare career. We have a differing language requirement depending on if you are getting a Bachelor of Science degree or a Bachelor of Arts degree. So obviously, if you choose biology or chemistry as your major, that's very likely going to be a Bachelor of Science degree. And then you would need to have completed through the second level of a single language. So let's just use Spanish as our example. So you need to complete Spanish 2. You can either do that through 2 years of high school work. So if you completed, let's say junior and senior year of high school, you did 2 years of Spanish, you will have satisfied that requirement. Otherwise, in college, you will need to do 2 semesters. So a level is 1 year of high school or 1 semester of college. If you choose a major that is a Bachelor of Arts, I'll just think of an example here. I think we do have some pre-med/English majors. That is a Bachelor of Arts, and you would need through the 4th level of a language for a Bachelor of Arts degree. Okay. We require 1 course in U.S. cultural diversity. Our English requirement is typically 3 classes, though depending on placement, you might be able to test out of English 101. But typically, a student would take English 101, 102, and then an advanced research writing class. And then we have a 9-credit international requirement. We do allow double counting of certain classes. So for example, you might pick a class that's called the History of China, and that may count towards both the international requirement and the social science requirement. So you'll work with your advisor to kind of leverage some options that may help speed up your satisfaction of different requirements.
Great. So how does advising at UWM? When you are admitted to UWM, you are assigned an advisor based on your major. And in letters and science, we house these pre-professional programs. So, and the majority of these students major in something in letters and science. And so you'll have your advisor in letters and science. And like I have several of the pre-professional areas, but we also have an advisor who does pre-dentistry. We have another one who does pre-pharmacy. Your advisor in LNS, we're here to make sure you stay on track for your degree requirements and your major requirements, but also help you plan and prepare for your graduate program to make sure you understand the timeline of when you might need to apply and take certain standardized tests to get admitted to these schools, as well as some of the other things that you need to do during your undergraduate career, like working and acquiring healthcare experience. So we encompass all of that. And I expect to meet with my students at least once a semester, because then that way I can stay on track with you to make sure I know what you want to do and how you want to go about this. And if you change your mind about something, that's no problem. I can just help, change that plan for you and refer you to someone else in case if I can't answer those questions. So like I said, you'll have an advisor in letters and science, but then you will also have a faculty advisor in your major. So once you know what you're going to major in, you will have a faculty advisor, and that faculty member can be a great resource to learn about courses in the major, specifically advanced level courses that might prepare or help prepare you for your professional school or graduate school. Faculty can also talk about different research opportunities that are in the department if you are interested in research, and talk about other careers or graduate school options if you are thinking, you want to kind of keep options open or see what else is out there. So it's really encouraged to meet with both your faculty and your LNS advisor.
So one of the ways you can get involved beyond just going to classes and getting the good grades you're going to need to get into one of those healthcare programs is to work with faculty members and grad students on research. And I put a few examples up here of 3 well, two are alumni now, and one is just getting ready to graduate, some of the research they have done, and you can see how that helped them get into the graduate programs that they are in. So we have all different types of research. Some of it can be very directly healthcare and medical related. Other research can be, you don't have to necessarily do medical type of research. There's other science-based research that you may just find interesting and want to get involved in. All of it works towards building your resume that you can present, to those graduate school admissions committees. Let's see. And a common question we get asked is, well, how do I get started? There's a number of different ways. Many students will visit our Office of Undergraduate Research. Excuse me, they keep lists of faculty who are looking for students to help them, and they can help make that match for you. Other times, you're just going to hear about faculty talking about what they're working on, and you need to be assertive and reach out to them and just say, hey, do you have anything open in your lab right now, or will you have something next semester? How can I get involved? Sometimes these faculty are actually hiring and have pay. Sometimes it can be for credit. And then sometimes it's just on a volunteer basis, but it's all vital to helping you build that resume, and research is a great way to build that resume. It is something that, medical schools and vet schools and places like that are going to be looking for.
And just something, if I can add about research, is that UWM, we encourage, if you want to get involved in research from day one, freshman year. There's a lot of universities where students can't get involved in research until senior year, maybe junior year, but we are a research institution, so we really encourage freshmen and sophomores to get involved and start research if they want to. So I've had some students who have done multiple research projects throughout their time at UWM. I've had some who've stayed, like Juan, I was his advisor. He worked with the same faculty member for several years. He was all about tree frogs. He loved it. So it's really about what you're interested in. And sometimes students will try it and they're like, you know what, it's really not for me. And that's really okay. But at least you tried it, you got some experience. And I think when you are preparing for these graduate schools, that could come up in an interview as to maybe why or why not you like research and what you want to do with it, if anything.
Yeah, I think Lori makes a great point about, the possibility of getting involved in multiple different research projects, or sticking with one if you really like it. I know Yazid on the previous slide did multi-years of research on with his faculty member on that imaging device that could detect prostate cancer. So.
And I think when looking at, these professional schools and you have an interest in going to med school or dental school, what's really important besides taking the required courses to get admitted, these graduate schools want applicants to have experience in healthcare. And it can be anything from volunteering, it can be job shadowing a physician or a dentist, but also working in a healthcare job. And it could be working as like a CNA or an EMT, a phlebotomist. And so these are some examples of employers that our students have worked or are currently working at. And part of the job as a pre-professional advisor, whenever we are informed of job opportunities, we send it out to our students so we can help, get you some experience, if you're interested. So I always tell students, it's hard freshman year or for your first semester, but kind of think about, what do you see yourself doing? What do you want? Do you need a job? What kind of a job? Or do you want to kind of start slow and look at volunteer experience? So there's a lot out there, but the more initiative you have, the better opportunities and the more opportunities you're going to have too. And our location is great because there's a lot of places close to the campus where you can get some really good hands-on experience.
Yeah, and we do have a lot of students who maybe already even have their CNA license or EMT license from high school and are already working those types of jobs. If you are doing that, be sure to start keeping a list of notes of what you're doing, unique experiences you're having, the number of hours you're putting into that, because that can help you when it comes time to apply to these healthcare programs. That's going to be 3 or 4 years from now. You're not necessarily going to remember what you did as a junior in high school. So having those notes can be really important. Next slide. So another way to build your resume would be to get involved in university life. This is a picture from, I think, shortly before the pandemic hit. Some of the student organizations brought in some of the cast members from Saturday Night Live for a comedy night. There's all different kinds of organizations you can get involved in. Some of them are going to be career oriented, like the Pre-Med Club or the Pre-Physician Assistant Club, and that's great. Those are wonderful for networking and just meeting your peers who have similar interests to you. And then there's going to be student orgs that, maybe you just need a little bit of a break from all the science and math that you're going to be involved in. There's nothing wrong with joining the sailing club or joining an arts club. You can work your way up, become an officer. That's another thing you can put on your resume. Take advantage of career fairs and networking opportunities that we host on campus. If you need help with a class, there's tutoring available through both department as well as UWM's tutoring center. Don't be shy about taking advantage of those opportunities. Sometimes I think from high school, there's a stigma of, the students who go to tutoring are the bad students. Well, it's just the opposite in college. The students who go to tutoring are the good students who know they need the help and want to get the best possible grade. So be sure to use that if that is needed. And then there's different conferences and competitions, some involving the sciences, and those are also great opportunities. Oh, and study abroad. If that is something you're interested in, be sure to talk to your advisor early. Particularly for any of the science majors, it is really important to plan that quite early because science is a very sequential type of major. You have to do things in order. You got to do chemistry 1 before you do chemistry 2, before you can do chemistry 3. And so you want to be able to plan when you're going to be away and how that might impact that sequence that you need to stay in.
Okay, so what should you be doing next? So you all have been admitted, which is great. If you've not completed the FAFSA application for financial aid, you should do that as soon as possible. Okay. Also, are you wanting to live in the dorms? There is the housing contract, or if you are going to live at home, you will need to fill out the housing exemption by May 1st. We also, something new this year is complete the intent to enroll form by May 1st, which can be done through your PAWS account. Also, it's important to watch PAWS and check your email for information about placement and anything regarding orientation. Our orientation programs start in June, and we have them scattered throughout the summer, June, July, or August. But I really encourage students to attend one in June or July. Classes will be open in August, but this way you can get the days and times that you prefer, especially if you're commuting or if you have jobs or other commitments. And then that way you get it done early, and then you can enjoy the rest of your summer.
Yeah, we get that question a lot. What happens if I wait till August to register for my classes? Like Lori said, you will be able to get classes. The problem is, you may prefer to take your math class, at noon when you're a little bit more awake, but by the time mid-August rolls around, the only math class available might be at 8 in the morning. So, your choices will be to take it at 8 or potentially delay your graduation again if you get out of sequence. So that's why the earlier orientations are better. And with that, we will open it for questions. I'm sure you guys have lots of questions. Feel free to shout them out. I forgot to mention at the beginning, there's also the little chat sidebar that you can open. I believe it says show or hide conversation at the top, and you can open your chat and type your question if you'd prefer not to speak. And I know we had some registrants who I think indicated pre-chiropractic. I know we didn't really mention that, but that is also very similar to everything we've talked about. Pre-pathology is another possibility. Pre-Anesthesiologist Assistant. So if we didn't mention your pre-program, let us know and we can address anything specific to that. The one pre that would be a little bit different is if anyone is thinking pre-physical therapy. Typically, you would want to major in kinesiology or something like that. Don't be shy, you can ask us anything. Yes, Emma, what is your advice if you have an interest in double majoring? Lori, do you want to take that?
Sure, that's definitely doable. It's definitely possible. So the main thing or the important thing I would say is let your advisor know right away. Because a lot of times on your application, you can only really put one major, so we wouldn't know. So the earlier you tell us, the better. And sometimes it could be 2 majors in letters and science, so it's very doable to fit those credits in. But if it is something like maybe something like biology and letters and science and maybe something outside of LNS, we would have you talk to both advisors to give you direct information about, you know, what is it truly required to complete this program or to do both majors, and how long could it take? Because doing a double major, depending on what those 2 majors are, could add on some time. Okay. You can definitely get done, you know, in 4 years. On average, typically students will finish their degree in 4 to 5 years. But I always tell students, you know, think about what do you plan on doing afterwards? You know, what professional school are you interested in? Because that will determine how many years you'll be in school. And so to double major in, you know, we just want to have that conversation to make sure you are okay with what would be required and give you a realistic timeline on how to get this done too.
Great. The next question from Farah. After placement testing, how and when do they sign up for classes?
So yeah, so you'll be getting a lot of information from the orientation office, and that'll be like, I think a lot through email and through your PAWS account to do items. And actually with COVID, we aren't really doing traditional placement tests. It's really based on your ACT score in high school units. And so there are certain things that you need to complete before you can attend orientation. But if you follow the directions from the orientation office, you'll be set.
And then Erin has a question about switching from undecided to a major. Erin, I will send you a link that you can fill out a brief form and that will switch your major. You will want to do that prior to orientation so that you get assigned to the right advisor versus an undecided advisor. And it should take, I don't know, 60 seconds to fill out the form. It's pretty short.
And just to go back to Farah's question, because this year they kind of changed things with orientation, so I just want to verify or let you know. So you'll have to do the intent to enroll activity to say, yes, you're coming here, and that's on your to-do list in PAWS. And then your placement based on ACT, or we do have some other online placement tools if you're interested in that. But for most students, it's just going to be based off their ACT score. So by doing those 2 main things, you'll then get invited to sign up for orientation. Like there's a pre-orientation activity guide, but then you'll be able to sign up for your orientation. So there's a lot of steps, but if you do them in order. Don't take time just so then you can get through the process and attend orientation. That's the goal, is just to get through that, all those like pre stuff before orientation, just so we can do a better job at orientation and advising you.
And yeah, you will leave orientation with your meeting with your advisor. Actually, you'll leave your meeting with your advisor with your schedule. So you will have that as soon as you meet with your advisor. And Erin, Rachel put the link in the chat if you want to grab it there, but we'll also follow up with an email so that you have it both ways. Any other questions from anyone? And we can take questions on other college topics too. It does not necessarily have to be on the pre-healthcare professions. If not, that's okay too. The three of us will hang out here for a few minutes, but otherwise, I'll send you on your way if you wish to leave, and thank you for coming, and we really hope to see you in the fall. We're very, very excited to see students in person again, so we hope you are as well, and thank you for joining us, and hopefully you have a great rest of your night.